So he wasn't a paid assassin? I don't know. Look, I'm sure they'll catch the guy and we'll find out more. Maybe he'll kill himself before the cops catch him. I don't know. Look, I'm telling you, the CCTV and the released image are not the same guy. I'm just going off what the media is saying, okay? I'm just going off what the media is saying, all right? I wasn't there. I was not in Midtown Manhattan that morning. I do not have any opinions because I wasn't there. I wasn't there. No one has any evidence that I was there. I wanted to talk about this and go back into, if we could slide the conversation back into my preferred territory, which is blaming the Democrats for everything, if I may. If you've been online, you've probably noticed that literally everybody is supporting the shooter. Like, that's barely even an exaggeration. Like, across the board on social media, top to bottom, everyone, every age group, not even that politically. It's not just the left. It's literally like across the board. Nobody cares. Like, the only people who are defending him are the weaseliest, most limperest of libshits and like politicians and, you know, that kind of deal. Like, I think Tim Walz said something like, you know, this is terrible, whatever. I don't know. For the most part, people aren't defending him. It's not like, yeah, I saw Aaron Rupar. Aaron Rupar was like, how dare all of you, you know? It's not just the online left. You see the Facebook post on this? I think that since then, the number of laughing emojis has like tripled or quadrupled or something like that. But United Health Group, look at this. At time of focus on the ratio, not the absolute value. At time of screenshot, 23K reacts, 19K of which are laughing. I mean, come on. People really didn't like the guy. And also, it's worth noting that while Brian Thompson was an evil man who presided over and profited from the deaths of hundreds, perhaps thousands of people in the short time that he was CEO of UnitedHealthcare, I mean, genuinely like a social mass murderer. And the only defenses you can really mount of his behavior, his use of that AI algorithm to automatically deny claims in a way that is legitimized by the, you know, AI algorithm. The only defense you can really mount on him is the Nuremberg defense, can't you? Like, oh, well, he was the CEO of a healthcare company or health insurance company. Of course he had to kill people for profit, which is like, okay, sure. Like, you know, all right. You know, you could do that for anything. It's, you know, like, oh, it's a member of the Schutzstaffel. Like, what are you going to do? That's his job. Yeah, okay. So Nuremberg defenses aside, really, nobody has anything positive to say about this guy. Classic, like, clean Wehrmacht bullshit. So with all of this being said, do you understand why Kamala Harris lost now? I hope some Democrats are looking at this. People didn't even know who Brian Thompson was. Nobody remembers the name of any, like, given CEO. There are a million evil companies. People are furious with the system right now. And I am saying the system in the most, like, anti-intellectual, broad, like, meaningless sense possible, because that is how people are thinking. People do despise the healthcare system, yeah, but no one likes CEOs. The right doesn't like them for a variety of reasons, usually because they use them as scapegoats for conspiracy theories. The left doesn't like them, but you know what? The median person also doesn't like them. Again, people have this idea that, like, you're either on the left, the right, or the center. There's no such thing as a moderate centrist. There's like 5 guys that are like that, okay? The average American is a psychopath who would send the other half of the country to a wall if they could. I know, I really mean it. I really genuinely mean it. If you have a conversation with like an average, and it can be anyone, go have a conversation at a bar with like a West Virginia, like some like Appalachian, like 45-year-old something. Go have a conversation with a tech guy in you know, San Francisco, like he's going to like one of those sleeper tube, like capsule hotels that cram himself in there before his next 18-hour day of work. Go to any of these people, just any like people who wouldn't consider themselves a leftist or a MAGA head or whatever. And you know what? They're all sick of it. Nobody's happy with the direction things are going. Nobody is. That's just a fact. It's one of the reasons why the messaging that Democrats are so fond of, which is like, well, America's already great. If you take a look for this, like, you know, this chart, it actually shows the number is higher than it used to be. Here we have a means tested policy that will affect 2.3% of the population and improve their well-being on average by like 0.48%. That's better than the other guy who's going to make your life worse. Doesn't work. I'm not saying that Democrats should like step out and say this shooting was based. I'm not saying that, and they're not going to do that. And if you think they're going to do that, you have the brain of a child and you are spending too much time online. That is not going to happen, obviously. Not just because, you know, the healthcare companies lobby and so on and so forth, but also because, like, don't be stupid. Come on, they're not going to do that. However, they should really look at this environment. An environment where it's not just nihilistic internet leftists, but everyone reacting this way to the assassination of a health insurance CEO, and use that to help further their understanding of why they lost. Because again, if you are only talking about, like, in a mathematical, flat utilitarian sense, which party is better? Democrats, obviously the Democrats. If you are operating sensibly, if you are reasonable, if you know how politics works, it's obviously the Democrats by like a wide margin too, not because the Democrats are going to make your life so much better, but because the Republicans are going to make it that much worse. But that's still a big difference. But that's obviously not how people vote, at least not all of them. Look, I just want some affirmation on this. Can we agree that even outside of the left and the right, even for like the hundreds of millions of Americans who are more towards the center, whatever that means, a lot of these people are not only fed up with the status quo, but like if you put one beer in them, I mean, like if they're even a little bit relaxed, they would start grumbling about how their boss needs to, you know, like their boss, or like the pharmaceutical industry, insurance companies, they'll go after car companies, anyone. Like this is like salt of the earth talk. You can bring this back hundreds of years. This is the number one conversational topic of the working class since day one of the working class, which is we hate this and we hate them. That's like the main thing they grumble about. Even back when labor conditions were a lot better proportionally, like in a relative sense, our country was a lot more economically equal back in the 1950s. Obviously not equal like in a broad sense, but in terms of the difference in wealth between the capital class and the working class, like right now it's stratified to an insane degree, but at the time it was comparatively a lot closer. And even at that time when Americans who had like union benefits, you know, they would work in like a domestic manufacturing plant and they would have like a job security that would allow them to retire or whatever. Back in those days, they still grumbled about their damn bosses. It's just the nature of the dynamic. You know, we forget that. Liberals forget that. The right wing doesn't forget it because they're always calling for people to die. The practice of the right wing, the narrative, the direction they walk down. I mean, the path they're building is one of mass death. They know where they're going. When Matt Walsh is in front of the Supreme Court, he's talking about how like he wants the total eradication of gender ideology. They know what they're talking about. They know they're a death cult. At least a lot of them do. But liberals forget. They forget because they believe in the institution. They believe in the numbers. I'm not saying the numbers are incorrect. I'm saying they believe in them. Like they believe they matter more than they do for politics. And they forget that deep in the heart of regular people is a sincere hate for anything, everything, and anyone that is worsening their life. And the liberal, in their arrogance, their you know, technocratic arrogance, they think, well, okay, sure, but let's set emotion aside and focus on the numbers, and we'll administrate the numbers, and we'll manage the numbers. And do they administrate them? Sure, they do a fine job sometimes. And then they lost the election. They lost the election to a retard. They lost the election to the weakest candidate maybe ever. Like every day a scandal, every day a weakness. Like